Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel where my neurodivergent niche interests come to play. And welcome to something that is entirely and utterly completely different than honestly just about anything else I've ever done on this channel or my previous channel, which was 99.99999% beauty related with a little bit of commentary amidst that. And what I'm going to start addressing in this video is actually something that I have wanted to pursue as a content creator on YouTube for a very long time, but haven't really either had the gumption, the wherewithal, or the whatever to actually go through with it. And that is going to be discussing and analyzing and going over and through the perilous, self-destructive life events of one of the most, I feel, infamous YouTubers on this platform, and that is going to be Amberlynn Reid. Now, I would like to start this video out, although I will be at some point potentially be doing reactionary content. If you are looking for a ALR channel or video, because this is simply going to be a series of videos amidst my other channel content. If you are looking for someone who is going to be doing a play-by-play reaction, kind of a la Oh Lordy It's Jordy or Alex is Shook, I don't think I'm really going to be the channel for you, whereas I am looking to be branding myself more as someone who analyzes and breaks down her behaviors rather than someone who is simply responding to the content that she continuously puts out. Hopefully it will make more sense as we go on in this video and as I continue to make content. I've had a really difficult issue of having ideas and wanting to do things and then sort of, ruminating over them and never doing them because I'm super paranoid that if they're not perfect, it's not going to go well. And I've just have to come to the realization that it's not going to be perfect, it's never going to be perfect, and I'm not going to get any better at doing it if I don't do it. So, starting off in this video, I would like to talk about just momentarily what my qualifications are, I feel, for being someone to give commentary and analyzation of Amber's content and her behaviors and her cycles and other things that have become and showcased on her channel and through various content on YouTube. Firstly, I'm a person with an opinion, and I feel like in any area of content creating, whether it be reactionary, whether it be other stuff I'm doing on YouTube, creating YouTube content is you have something you want to talk about and you have an opinion on, and I definitely have a wide variety of opinions on Amber, as well as a lot of the reaction channels and compilation channels that sort of create the stratosphere that is her existence. Other is the sheer amount of Amberlynn Reid content that I have consumed. Not just her content alone, though I have not consumed nearly as much of her content, like actually watching her, as I have other reaction channels. I was there via Michael B. Petty, the Sinatra Says, a wide variety of other content creators throughout the years that I have been involved and enmeshed with as her story has progressed from those earlier times. I could not tell you when I initially got into Amberlynn Reid. I can't look back and think that's the video that started the downward spiral. The best conclusion that I can come to about that is that it was probably via a commentary YouTuber that I watched doing something else, and they ended up doing something on her, and that's just what opened the floodgates. I got heavily more into the drama, I would say, during 2015, 2016, which I believe was peak End Destiny into Becky era. Again, I do not claim to be a Amberlynn archaeologist or someone who has all of the dates and all of the everything. As I do more videos about her and I do more analyzation, I would like to do more research and have more concrete stuff as I go through, but this is more just a hi, hello, this is what I would like to do, and this is why I think I'm qualified to do it. And one main thing that I am going into this as, and sort of what has made me be inspired to start doing commentary or whatever about Amberlynn, is in watching a lot of other commentary videos, Young Dumb Honey Bun, just a wide variety. I will be doing a video talking about all the commentary channels and all the reaction channels and the compilation channels that I have watched throughout the years, what I think of them, which ones I like and continue to watch now. But in watching all of those, I've seen it done by one other creator. I will look and try to find their video, because right as I was thinking about starting doing what I'm doing now, I watched a video by them and I was like, they get it. They're doing it. They're doing it. And that is commenting and reaction coming from the point of view of someone who horrifyingly in a variety of ways sees a lot of similarities between myself and Amberlynn Reid, which, you know, thinking of her history is sort of a why I draw parallels between me and, you know, sort of said dumpster fire, as it were. There are unironically a lot of similarities between us that are just sort of surface level. She and I are both 33 years old. We are both on the rainbow spectrum. I identify as a lesbian. She identifies as a lesbian. So I feel there is a certain amount of common ground there. However, even more common ground, and I think even something that offers me a little bit even more insight into analyzing Amber as a character, as a person, as an enigma, as a personality character on YouTube, is the similarities, the startling similarities that she and I have when it comes to either diagnosed or undiagnosed mental things. I am unaware if Amberlynn was, I believe she was diagnosed as borderline personality, which I was diagnosed as borderline personality when I was about 16, 17, 18, sometime in there. I was first at a crisis prevention facility that began medicating me, and then as I initially got into therapy, we then went into a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, which I think it is important to note that when it comes to borderline personality disorder, it is often used as a umbrella diagnosis because it is notoriously difficult to diagnose psychopathy in teens and young adults. And so borderline is actually often sometimes a diagnosis that is grown out of as kind of your as your brain solidifies and as all your neurapses sort of come into, and they're able to make a more definitive diagnosis that is less just umbrella term, and they're able to zero in on what it really is. And after I became an adult and was more solidified, I was then diagnosed again with bipolar personality disorder, which I do not know if Amberlynn Reid is officially, or if she said she is, or if there's speculation, but from someone on the outside looking in who is like, my picture should be in the dictionary under bipolar. Just, I should have been in the dictionary under borderline too. I fit perfectly in both of those, and there are often things in borderline that coincide with bipolar. And looking at her, there have been times where I've just been like, girl, raging bipolar. Like, I watch her do some things and that's me. That was me. That, again, the parallels were a little bit alarming, and seeing myself in her and seeing my past behaviors and seeing other very poor coping mechanisms that were hallmarks and are hallmarks in my life that are also hallmarks and paramount to bipolar, I feel like this is perhaps one of the things that is a little bit glossed over when it comes to not necessarily other reaction channels. I don't want to dub myself as any sort of channel yet. This is just something that has been something mentally that I've wanted to do for a long time. But when watching Amberlynn content and watching a lot of the reaction channels, one thing that sort of brought about of similarity between me and her, not camaraderie, but listening to the channels, you know, watch her and, you know, have her do her cycles and her things. And it's always been funny, like if she goes on one of her, you know, let's just use journals as an example, and she goes all ham on a whole bunch of fucking journals, and someone's like, can you imagine buying so many I have only ever had one journal in my life. I've only ever had one planner in my life. Why do you need? And I'm sitting there going, binge buying a lot of the one thing. That looks around at other binge bought collections that I have. Ooh, she hyperfixates on a new thing and goes all crazy in it and spends all shit ton of money, and it becomes her personality for a brief amount of time. I wonder, what does that sound like? A little bipolar, maybe? And I will preface this with saying, I am not here to diagnose anyone. I am not here to say what she has or what she doesn't have. I am here to offer my personal opinion and my personal experience based on what I have learned through journeying through bipolar. I also have depression. I also have anxiety. I also have had anorexia. I am not entirely sure if I qualify as it now, but after being anorexic and basically my parents finding out and me not being able to be anorexic anymore, I then went to binge eating. And again, watching her and watching her cycles and watching her behaviors and the way that she goes about things, the cycles, the up and lows, I'm just like, ooh, if I had access to a lot of the money that she has access to and has had access to, there are a lot of really bad behaviors that would be a lot worse. Now, I do have a fair amount of notes here in future videos. Hopefully they will be formatted a bit more structured. We'll have a bit more research, a bit more, you know, why and how between things. I'm working on getting up a setup that I can, you know, you can see me while I'm talking about content. That is a very new thing to me, so please bear with me as I am getting all of that together to make better and consistent content for you all on this subject. As stated, simply, honestly, one of my main reasons behind doing this is the fact that I do see those parallels, those direct parallels between myself and her behavior. There are, again, a startling amount of similarities, especially if you're considering bipolar and mania. When it comes to Amberlynn commentary, I will admit, back in the beginning of me getting into her, I did a lot of hate watching. I listened to a lot of channels that would tear that girl a new one up, down, left, and center. We're not talking constructive criticism. We're talking she's a fat fucking cow. That sort of thing, right? And then kind of as her psychopathy has evolved or not evolved, as the case may be, as we seem to be repeating the same cycle, seeing that cycle repeated has cemented it. Again, I have repeated very similar cycles that she has. And in looking and in knowing and having more knowledge about mental illness, about anxiety, depression, so many different trifecta things that sort of make the cycle make sense. Although there is, you know, consistency, and we know the cycle, when you look at it from the standpoint of it being symptoms of a mental disorder, there are many hallmark elements in her cycle that relate very, very closely to bipolar, in my personal opinion. So when it does come to discussing her content, I could not care less how much she weighs. Everything I have to say about her doesn't have to deal with her being overweight. Her being overweight is not, it is the problem because it is in a way, it is a self-destructive. Her weight gain is a byproduct, the result of those destructive coping mechanisms that she's allowed herself to indulge in for so long. I am not over 500 pounds. However, I do understand the cycle. I understand the toxic coping mechanisms. A great example for me, for her, eating, gaining weight. All of these bad behaviors, this repeated cycle of self-sabotage has led her to being the weight that she is, has put her into the health condition that she is. Where for me is I have done a awful amount of irresponsible financial decisions. Financial decisions that have led to, oh dear God, come to Jesus, oh shit moments. When you have those realizations and you realize that you have hit a place that is rock bottom, and you realize, I have done this to myself, and all of those, it really is a self-destructive cycle, inability to do anything other than those toxic coping mechanisms that you have held onto and utilized for so many years. Breaking out of that cycle is freakishly hard, and Amberlynn continually fails to put enough effort in to break those cycles because they are difficult, and that is coming from someone who, again, realizing with the bipolar, looking back on the borderline personality, part of what I feel like, and this is just me, my experience, my whatever, as someone who is coming to terms with and dealing with and making peace with my bipolar, which is a fairly, I say fairly recent, probably I've been diagnosed for about 4 years now. And when I was diagnosed as bipolar, when I was put on a mood stabilizer, things started to make more sense, and I was able to look at myself a bit more objectively and look at my past behaviors and have a bit of realization that that's not good. They're bad. There's a reason they're called toxic coping mechanism, and I am currently working through those behaviors, creating better behaviors, and becoming a better person. And one thing I've come to realize as someone, again, dealing with the bipolar, there comes a time in your growth, in your journey, where when you self-reflect, you have to take a step back, look at yourself, and acknowledge that there were times where I was the problem, where my behaviors and my actions were the issue, and I, in fact, was the person and the thing who needed to change to make it better. Amber seems to lack an ability to self-analyze to the point of acknowledgement that what is doing her wrong is what she's doing to herself. She has a very strong habit of pushing it on to other things, pushing it on to other people. It's sort of being a, well, I'm sorry I made you feel like that, rather than, yeah, what I did was pretty shitty and what I'm doing to myself is pretty shitty. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I need to change. Maybe I should pay more close attention to myself and working on myself and my issues. And again, sort of along with the bipolar, also, I think my experience with not only just ED in general, but specifically with the binge eating and the overeating and the food addiction. To this day, I consume way more than I should, and God bless the metabolism that I do have, because my mom can tell you, my girlfriend can tell you, my past exes can tell you, I put a lot of food in this body, and I put a lot of bad food in this body. I know what it's like to go absolutely buck fucking wild in the pantry. I would go through a whole box of pasta, a whole thing of Oreos, loaf of bread made into sandwiches, frozen pizza, fruit, a box of fruit snacks, just a huge amounts of food. It got to the point it was so bad with my binging. I always ate in bed, and to this day that is still something I struggle with. I enjoy eating in bed, specifically if it's like candy or something unhealthy. But when I sort of realized it was a problem, I'd been binging in bed at night when I'd go to sleep. Before I'd go to sleep is typically when I'd foist a bunch of typically candy, chocolate, that sort of thing. Skittles was a big one for me, and I'd just lay in bed and completely consume. I got into bed one night and I'm sitting there and I'm settling down and I'm feeling all good. And I realized that I had started to salivate. I was like, oh God, Pavlov is somewhere ringing his bell. I just, oh. And to this day, I still struggle with, again, the binge eating and the food addiction. And it really ties into, again, with bipolar and with mania, the high, the inability to stop, the lack of impulse control. I always joke that I don't have a hypothalamus. I just wasn't given one, or it's defective. I have no impulse control. And a lack of impulse control does have a lot to do with bipolar. And Amberlynn Reid, as we can see, has no impulse control, not to what she puts in her mouth, not to what she buys, very little to what she says, and no impulse control when it comes to feelings and emotions. And again, there's a wide variety of things that I'm going to go into in more depth in later videos, talking about more of her psychopathy and how the borderline and bipolar relates to sequences of behavior and interaction she's had with people. Another hallmark thing that Amberlynn Reid does that I identify with a lot myself is, again, when I wanted to start making content on this, I started writing down things that I was like, ooh, that's a thing. That's a thing. Ooh, that's relative. That's relatable. And one of those things that at least is common for me and my bipolar, and I will do more research as I go in and make more concrete videos, is the self-sabotage. I am a notorious self-sabotager. I have been pretty much all my life. If things are going good, I panic. And I'm like, oh, things are going too good. And so you self-sabotage as a way to protect yourself, because in the unquiet mind, in the bipolar mind, at least mine, is discomfort, and those things, as horrible as they are, going back to those habits is safe, even though it's worse, because it is a familiar environment. When you are used to being chaos and you are used to being frantic and you are used to making these bad choices, when you go off of that and are doing something new, even though it's better, it still doesn't feel good because it's different. And so even though those other behaviors are worse, our brains kind of almost subconsciously go back towards it, because even though, it was worse, it's still familiar and comforting almost to be able to go back to those ways. And I think we can see this as a hallmark in a lot of Amber's behavior, is she has a endless round of cycles within her cycles, because every time she tries to go forward and create this new thing for herself, whether it be daily weigh-ins, whether it be bullet journaling, whether it be a new fad diet, Weight Watchers, Optavia, all of those, Optavia, whatever, I don't even know how to pronounce it. They're all of these quick starts that she gives herself, these ultimates, this is what I'm going to do, and if I stray away from it, that's going to be complete and end all break from it. And she inevitably self-sabotages and then believes that she can't do anything because she is setting herself unrealistic goals that then get overwhelmed honestly by her inability to make those small cognitive changes before jumping full into a complete lifestyle change. In more recent events, one tell of at least bipolar that I feel that was also something that thankfully I don't have an issue with it now, but definitely in my before I was diagnosed as bipolar, and this is also a part of borderline personality disorder, is abuse of substances. As we've seen with her, alcohol, there was a very long period of time. I mean, just self-destructive behavior is a hallmark of borderline as well as bipolar. It's just sort of the nature of the beast, as it were. And one of those can be heavily indulging in alcohol and using it as a means to let loose. I was definitely a binge drinker, which, watching her as a 33-year-old, my body has long since started rejecting alcohol several years ago, and watching her chug however many of those shot-filled buzz balls, I get a headache. I feel dehydrated just watching her. I don't know how her 33-year-old body keeps up. And although she does have her health issues and things that go into why she shouldn't drink, I think one of at least my main issues with it isn't that she drinks, isn't that she does Delta 8 or anything like that. She's a grown-ass woman. She's got, I understand, all her health issues and things that she shouldn't do. But at the end of the day, despite how much of a child she wants to act, she's over 21. She can make decisions. I think one of the big things with her drinking is the way that she goes back and forth on it. The way it literally is, she goes on and she drinks and she's having a good time. She gets a little backlash, a little pushback, reads a couple comments, and then she's like, I'm going stone cold sober. And then in the next video, she's like, hey guys, I'm just a drinking girly pop. She has done this repeatedly, a numerous amount of times, with alcohol, with Delta 8. One of the most frustrating things with her, for me, isn't the substance. That's bad. That's problematic. You know, I've been through it. I understand it, but isn't that she's doing that. The frustrating part is the waffling. I would have so much respect for her if she just said, yeah, fuck it. I drink. I smoke. I do whatever. Like, yeah, be consistent on something. Just get out here and tell it. Say it with all your chest, right? And just go with it. Don't waffle back and forth. Don't try consistently being a people pleaser. Just pick one and stick with it. Now, with seeing all of the similarities between myself and Amber, I look forward to making more content, talking about more experiences, and hopefully being able to give insight on some of the realities of how mental health does work. Because I feel when you look at Amber in certain ways, she is a picture perfect hallmark to some of the behaviors that are in line with the mental illnesses, those that she says she has, those that she says she doesn't, and a wide variety of them, whether they be true or not. She still does exhibit behaviors that coincide with them. However, one thing that makes Amber more unique, that makes Amber why there is so much ability to analyze and scrutinize, I know, and I will share in future videos, very almost exact same experiences that I have shared in the self-sabotage, in cycling, in those manic, just the downward spiral and then the upward and downward back again under the same circumstances, just a different tune, or a different bad habit, or a different thing. Repeating the same processes over and over again, because like I said, I've experienced them. I look at it and I'm like, And if I was not where I am now with being diagnosed as bipolar and having a better grasp on what that means to me and with my behaviors, past, present, as well as moving forward, the big difference is I haven't recorded mine for everyone to see. I haven't filmed every breakdown. I haven't filmed every binge, every purge, every shopping spree, every bit of my self-destructive cycle for the internet to see. If I had had a camera and was vlogging all of my craziness, like I've still got stuff I'm working out, I'm in therapy and all that shit. But if I documented my younger formative years in the earlier days of my, I mean, I've been mentally ill since I was conceived, but you know what I mean, in my mental health journey, if I had recorded it the same degree that she had, whoo, I would make some great reality TV, because there was nothing I loved more than biting the hands that fed me. I don't want to be better. I like being depressed and upset. Everything is on fire, and that's fine. I have made some pretty shitty life choices, some of which that are in due and not necessarily explained, but understood better by looking at and understanding myself and how my mental illness, how my diagnosis has shaped who I am as a person and, you know, how I respond. And that isn't even taking into any consideration into what she has gone through. Take away, you know, we'll discuss all that she's done, all that whatever, being in the foster system, having parents that abused substances like they did, having to be there for your siblings is a lot. I will not begrudge her that going through that does something to you. People are talking about recently, they're like, you know, all this, you know, is she really there with her family and really not? And I'm watching it and I'm like, I got issues. I got shit I'm dealing with, you know, with my mom, and my mom didn't abuse me. You know, my mom didn't, you know, choose drugs over me, you know, and I've got stuff I'm dealing about with her in therapy, and my mom didn't actively self-destruct around me. So thinking about what she's gone through and her inability to go at it at a, you know, actually look at it for what it is and try to work through those things, which I believe will not be possible without therapy. As someone who is an exceptionally strong advocate for therapy, it has done amazing things for me, for my girlfriend, for people that I know. When you have trauma, especially trauma like that, she's a terrible, awful human being, and that's why I'm talking about her. But some shit has happened to her too, and I feel like that isn't taken into a lot of consideration when looking into her psychopathy overall. There is a lot that goes into Amberlynn Reid and making her who she is and what she is. I know a lot of people think she's just a dumb, stupid, silly, childish, whatever, which on certain levels is also true, but there is still a lot of layers in there that have gone into making her what she is. And in all honesty, that's really what I want to discuss on these videos on my channel, is not so much a play-by-play, though there are certain arcs and certain videos and content that I would like to directly, you know, give my 2 cents on, give my unwanted opinion on the internet on, because that is what fascinates me about her most, is looking at the cycles, looking at the behaviors, having myself and my behaviors that I consider to be damn near identical in some cases. Like, I look at her going crazy, buck wild shopping, like when people are watching, they're like, God, who would spend that much money on perfume? You know, who could possibly buy this much shit? Hello. So I thought it would be fun, you know, maybe a little humorous self-analyzation comparison to our lovely girl, as it were, Goral. Should I be using the correct vernacular. Moving forward, I am looking forward to creating a variety of content around this. Again, this has been something that I have wanted to do. I hope that I've touched up enough on sort of my reasoning why I want to start creating videos talking about her. I think that now is the time to do it. I don't plan on being an Amberlynn reaction channel, so if everything combusts about her like it seems to be doing, I won't be out of a job. This is just for fun, just for shits and giggles. I like me a little psychological, a little research, a little contemporary pop culture discussion. She really is truly, you know, an enigma, sort of a caricature of sorts on the internet. I would say, you know, a la Chris Chan or any other sort of internet lolcow that really has a pretty big discography of content on YouTube. And again, when you film yourself for however many years doing a lot and breaking down and cycling out and recording every bad decision, every attempt at recovery, there are just so many things to be dissected and gone through, and just a plethora of things that I would like to say. But for this video, I hope I was able to sum up at least a nice intro into this. Not sure what my other next video on her is going to be. Depends on what sort of technology I'm able to figure out on my end. I am literally filming on a Samsung S8, so like don't get your whatever's too high. But again, I wanted to start, and if I don't start, then I'm not going to ever get any better. Should this so tickle your fancy and you have anything you would like me to respond to, comment on concerning her, let me know down below. If this is completely, just absolutely not your thing on my channel, that's great. I'm going to be creating my other content as well. This is just another one of my niche interests, an avenue on this channel that I want to pursue that brings me joy. That sounds really, really weird to say. It brings me joy to talk, psychologically analyze a YouTuber who's consistently gained weight, and she's the one apple, two chips girl. But to those of you who made it to the end here, give yourself a big giant gold fucking star. You deserve it for listening to me talk about one of my interests for well over 40 minutes at this point. Hopefully it'll be much less. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video or vlog. Bye!